Sorry I'm late, fellas. Fuck. Yeah, it wasn't purposeful. Trying to get as much done with the software. It's the streaming software. I'm trying to get it to where I don't have to mess with it anymore. But it's like super complex, and I'm starting from scratch. So it's not easy. Like I'm having to pick hotkeys and stuff. This ain't my forte. Or I've never done anything like this seriously. Growing up or anything like that. So, I'm making it my business as I mean, this is my business. I'm making it my business, but uh it's one of those things you can't really force it. I'm a one man thing, and I've got to make the mistakes to get to progress. I mean, you guys watch, you see it. Make mistakes. I'm always stepping on my own Johnson. And I had or talked to my doctor today, just kind of, shooting the breeze with him. Had a really nice conversation. It's nice because he's a really smart guy. He's also he's like basically my dad's age. Grew up when my dad did. White guy, American, comes from Southern California. Very cool guy. But I will say this, and he said this to me today too. He goes, because I was talking about Nick Fuentes and him being transgressive against the Holocaust narrative. And he goes, man, he said, dude, we had Saturday morning cartoons. He goes, after Saturday morning cartoons, he's like, every Saturday, it was like a 6-hour block of straight Holocaust documentary. Bro, I was thinking like, dude, that's like as bad as the Holocaust. To have to sit through that? Oh, he said it was like that his whole childhood, man. I believe him. You know how the boomers are, man. Dude, they had that absolutely drilled into their heads. They did it to us too, but and it's crazy too is we used to be we're America, we're free speech, this and that. I was telling him how Nick, transgressive lead denies or says that the Holocaust, it didn't take place and this and that. To transgress it, I don't think it actually matters if he actually believes it or not. I don't think it matters. And my doctor, I feel like he just, it didn't feel right to him. I was saying like, he transgresses, and he just wasn't, it was like his own prior, he even called it brainwashing, but he's been brainwashed so much. And I said to him, I was like, dude, they're putting people in jail because for like blasphemy laws, because they literally question the religion. It's a belief now and stuff. And I was like, I said, whatever happened to, you have, I don't agree with you, but I'll defend your right to say, to say what you want to the death. Whatever. What happened to that? What happened to that? We used to be so proud of it. And it's like we just gave it up and nobody says anything. We just pretend as though it never happened. It's like, what happened to that? We used to be so proud of that. And I remember I heard that a lot as a kid. I disagree with you, but I'd been to the bitter end. You're right to disagree. Oh, you'll never hear that today. Truly, man. And I feel kind of guilty about that guy Liberty Vault, for ragging on him. I always thought that guy was like a lefty, and that he just agreed with Dave Smith on Israel. I was watching his stuff today. No, come to find out, that dude is like a hardcore like libertarian activist, like spoken at conferences and stuff. He had Dave Smith on his show too. I was thoroughly impressed with that dude. I had no idea that guy was, I thought he was a small channel. I guess not. He's actually pretty big. He's kind of big timing it. I mean, he had Dave on his podcast. Man. Okay. Byron Donalds, man. That dude is a scumbag. Like, you know, it's funny when there's something that's going to happen that I can't, that bothers me and I can't change it. I kind of just have to put it out of my mind. It's like, I'll never get over it. You know, I'll never get, I just have to not think, just say, just write it off as that, like, you know, there's nothing I can do. Oh, his name's Clint. Nice. Hell yeah. That's what's up. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, whoops. I feel like an idiot now, like fumbling around in my own my own software. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Sorry. I watch, you know, it's funny, like Stephen A. Smith. I remember when he was a sports guy. And like now, I don't think he is a sports guy at all. I haven't seen him talk about sports since he was at ESPN. It's really weird. Like, and what made, I feel like he always dreamed of being a Politico, which is kind of weird to me. Why would, I don't know. It's weird. Here we go.
It shouldn't surprise you, by the way. Anyone pushing for a war like the war with Iran clearly hates you.
Tucker is on fire, dude. Tucker is the man right now. This dude is just, he's spitting fire. I spit hot fire. I spit hot fire. Dylan.
You clearly, no matter what they say, and keep in mind that every attack on your interests always comes guised as a liberation movement. We're going to liberate you from the fear you doubtless feel from Islamic Jihad. You're probably been worrying about Hezbollah a lot. What? No? Ooh, Hezbollah what? You worry a lot about Hezbollah, but we're going to save you from that. You know, the Iran nuclear program is a massive threat.
The war-crazed lunatics in support of this disastrous war in Iran have pivoted from just supporting it to not only supporting it, but dragging through the dirt anyone that dares to point out what a calamity this has been, with psychopaths like Mark Levin saying the biggest issue with this generation that doesn't support Israel enough in this foolhardy war in Iran is that they wouldn't be supportive enough of a new draft that would draft U.S. soldiers to be sent over there. And by the way, if you complain about the unaffordability crisis, the inflation brought on by the central bank and Washington's spending sprees, well, you're just not working hard enough. You're too idiotic to know how good you have it. That is their line of messaging right now. And Tucker Carlson appropriately blasts it right here. So let's get a load of it. Let's see what he has to say. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hype it if you can.
Well, where's Iran? It is. Trust me, they've killed thousands of Americans. What? Who? Shut up, they have.
Shut up.
And so they tell you, of course, that whatever they're doing is to save you from something you probably didn't feel a threat from before, like, I don't know, marriage or cheap food. Think of all the liberation movements, decent schools, safe neighborhoods. We're going to liberate you from that in the name of civil rights. Ooh, yeah. We're going to liberate you from marriage. It's really a prison. Yeah, big prison.
Right, like, that is a good observation. We're going to liberate you from marriages. We're going to liberate you. Like, bro. Okay. I see. Maybe it's like they've run out of stray puppies locked away in kennels to rescue and free. So now they're trying to free people who don't feel trapped.
We're going to set you alone in an apartment by yourself with your cat. You can order your food online. We got 450 burritos. You're going to feel a lot better. You're going to be free finally. Okay. So of course you say that because that's kind of what liars tell you. Whatever they're doing to hurt you is actually in your interest. No, it's medicine. Just take it. You won't get COVID.
No,
but
sure.
Behind the lie is what? Why would you lie to someone like that? Why would you tell them that? Why would you tell them what's killing them is saving them? Because you hate them, obviously.
Kind of.
Now, on the question of food prices, something so fundamental, something every single human being deals with because everybody has to eat, it's out in the open. It's all revealed. You can lecture me about the Iranian nuclear program or the threat of Hezbollah, but if you're lecturing about food prices at my grocery store, you clearly hate me. And they clearly do. You should know that.
Pretty incredible.
And as if we need more evidence, well, here's Mark Levin.
On the internet, something very weird happened last week, and I was watching this, the price of a burrito.
Who is this?
Now, I'm
This
not
guy's
really
an
into
idiot.
burritos. Every now and then I'll go to Taco Bell and I'll have one or two. Pretty cheap, if you ask me. That is the price.
Bro, can you believe that he just said it? Pretty cheap if you ask me. Bro, that shit is, it's fast food. Who are you fooling, bro? We all know that shit is poison. Who is this guy trying to fool here?
Now, all that said, this debate was about affordability. Now, he doesn't have to pay $20 for a burrito. He can make it for a lot less. But I'm thinking, what
You
the
know,
hell?
It's like, that's not the point, dude. The point is, we all used to be able to afford these burritos on a regular basis, and we enjoyed them. They were delicious. And we don't have much in our lives to enjoy. We had a few things like burritos the size of infants, newborn infants. Like, we had these things. Now you're telling us we don't even have that. Bro, you're about this close from getting snatched out of your bed in your PJs and strung up by your nut satchel. Like this guy. Like, I'm serious. Like, if the establishment keeps pushing this scumbag out to harp and you know, give us the effeminate henpecked, whiny, bitchy old man shtick, like I'm gonna explode. It's too much.
What has happened to our society? Where is
I'll
our...
tell you what happened. You bastards got control of it somehow with your
can-do-it mentality. We sit here with a
I
war
said
in
that shit
Iran
last night.
against an enemy that has killed thousands of Americans, maimed thousands of Americans.
Okay.
I remember a time when America would say, let's go. Let's destroy that country, destroy that government. You don't get to kill thousands of our fellow citizens, military or civilians.
Okay.
You don't get to try to assassinate our president. You don't get to threaten us with potential nuclear weapons either. Now it's a debate. Should we take him out? Shouldn't we? Are you a neocon or a war?
Dude, it's always been a debate, Mr. Levin. You know, when this stuff went down, he's like, oh, we didn't let people push us around and this and that. It's like, well, what about the Iran hostage situation? That wasn't getting pushed around? This guy is such a douchebag, man. Like, when will they just, and it's like, I doubt they probably know that he is not convincing anybody. They probably know this. You know, but he's willing to get out there and just spew this garbage, spew this dog food.
Monger? Is this a war of choice? We don't even have a draft. Would a draft even work with young people today? I wonder. Could we even fight World War II today? We're whining about $1 of gasoline. 12% of the United States population served in the military during World War II. Over 16 million Americans joined the armed forces out of a total national population of about 130 million people. Roughly 1 out of every 8 Americans wore a uniform. We don't have that today. And people are still whining and complaining. It's getting embarrassing, to be perfectly honest with you.
Just think of that. Mark Levin's biggest, his biggest complaint against the generation that opposes these stupid, idiotic wars that his generation has forced upon us, that has convinced various presidents to launch, is that we're not fervent enough supporters of them. We wouldn't support a government slavery scheme to draw more people into them against the United States interests, and that we actually have some sensibility on this issue right now. We actually don't think the neocons and neoliberals that have waged these wars for so long, we're good stewards, we're good statesmen, we're even moral actors in any shred of existence whatsoever. That's his top qualm with the United States populace right now, that we wouldn't accept a government slavery scheme to put more people into war, to enslave them, to kill other people who aren't a threat to us. That's his biggest complaint. And guess
he's right too. And it's like, bro, look at what you're talking about, Mr. Levin, what you're complaining about. You're complaining that we can't just go out like, as a country, as a military, go out like cowboys and just murder, hundreds of millions of people. That's what he's complaining about. It's like, dude, nobody attacked us, bro. What the hell are you talking about? Why are you so hell bent on war? Like, dude, you don't fight these wars. You don't contribute at all. And he wants to fight wars and have us fight them. It's like, bro, don't you get it? We're fighting the war. We get to decide if we want to fight it.
What? He commends the sacrifice of the greatest generation and says that this generation that's living now is not abiding by that, is not representing that generation. Well, what's missing from that? He hasn't sacrificed. He hasn't signed up for war. He hasn't volunteered to fight Israel's wars anyways. He just gets off scot-free, gets to complain about it when this generation does it. But the generation that did do it, their sacrifice isn't being properly kind of replicated again in the current age. That's his qualm.
We're doing them
as far as
it's like we're ungrateful because we're not like chomping at the bit to go get shot in the head by some Arab dude in the middle of the desert where, we're going to die alone and in the middle of a desert end up as a damn skeleton in the desert.
This boomer neocon psychopath, and yeah, he is a neocon. He is a advocate of wars of choice. Every single war he has supported has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to inflation. This is not something that's just an idiotic complaint. This is a real deal issue that's affected the United States populace for a long time. It's why the dollar is worth 3% of what it was in 1913. It's being debased and debased and debased. And by the way, when inflation was a problem under Biden and inflation
sorry as hell today.
was spiraling out
of I see
control. The dollar continues to be debased under every U.S. president. Just the relative amount differs. Damn. He complained about it. He said it was bad. He said it was destructive, an economic catastrophe. But now when his guy's in office, somehow you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just work harder because you don't know how good you have it. Just think about that. People in his generation could afford.
I'm more apt to go fight Mark Levin than Iran. I'm if there's going to be any fighting, Mark Levin is the first one. He's the first person that I fight. You know what? I'll go to war. I'll do all that stuff. But I'm fighting Mark Levin before I go, or then deal's off. If I get some licks in on Mark Levin, I'll do it then. I mean, if I'm going to fight anybody, it would be the neocons. It would be Mr. Levin himself. Not a school full of little girls. Thank you very much.
Houses on 1 year's annual income, on 2 years' annual income sometimes, depending on the house. But now houses, the average house is something like $600,000, $700,000 in many locations, and Americans can't afford it. The average home buyer is 40 years old now. It's because of the inflation, because of the spending sprees that he wants for the sake of Israel above the United States. That's Mark Levin.
It's embarrassing. Your unwillingness, your reluctance, your hesitation in the face of fighting for Israel, it's just embarrassing. It's disgusting. Huge percentage of Americans served during World War II. Of course, they had no choice because there was a draft. Why aren't they serving now? Well, that's a question actually Mark Levin ought to ask himself, a man who didn't serve, who could be serving now, by the way, could be on the front lines in Kyiv, or for that matter, in the Gulf, but isn't. But why aren't Americans serving 80 years after the great victory of World War II? Well, I don't know. Maybe they look around at the country that won that war and they ask the obvious question. Is this what a victorious country looks like? If we won, why are we living like this?
Yeah, why are the people we beat
if we won, why
living better than us? Isn't that odd?
aren't things getting better? Why are they getting worse? Why are we so in debt? Why does the federal government spend $7 trillion a year but only takes in $5 trillion in tax revenue? What's the plan there? How do we get there? This is what victory looks like? Just for fun sometime, you ought to fly from Kennedy Airport in New York to Narita Airport in Tokyo. Spend a day wandering around New York. Do the whole city. How about just Manhattan? Just Washington Heights to Tribeca. Just walk it. You can do it. It's not very long. It's a day walk. And then go to Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world. Now, Tokyo is the city that lost. Actually, we dropped 2 nuclear weapons on Japan. So they really lost. We actually vaporized them, all their kids too. No country's ever lost like Japan lost in the summer of 1945. But walk around Tokyo after a day of walking around New York. Which city looks like it lost a war?
This is such a good point, and Tokyo is a beautiful city. I actually lived in Japan for a summer, and the point he's making is that, well, they didn't become a world empire. Japan didn't become a world empire, and there's some things about the United States that I think are superior to Japan, but Japan doesn't wage wars across the world for its own debt and internal destruction.
Right? We would have nothing to complain about if they weren't waging, if they weren't trying to, run some empire. We could fix the rest of the problems, but there's no point in trying to fix anything while they're recklessly like destroying the country. It's like we may as well just wait till they're finished, because who knows what they're going to strip out or burn down or have invaded by, coloreds. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Japan's really nice, I hear. Clean. It's pretty damn nice too.
Destruction because of its debt. It doesn't look so terribly pitiful because of all the inflation that has happened in the United States. And Japan has inflation too. They have a central bank. Basically, every country has a central bank for the most part to devalue the currency. Such was not always the case in the United States in the era of free banking in the 1840s, etc. But this is what America did. It squandered its victories. If there ever was a victory, it's been squandered in endless corporate welfare, debt, and inflation. And then you have complainers like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, who just harangue the populace for not having their priority, which is this foreign rogue regime, a genocidal lunatic regime, which enacted a genocide against the Palestinians and convinced this president to launch a war of choice in Iran. Well, if you dare to oppose those things, you're the enemy. You're just too stupid. I'm sorry. I thought we were done with this in 2016 when Trump said, hey, the neocons are idiotic. They led us senselessly into the Middle East. It was a big fat lie. Well, the American populace was ready to hear that message, not the Republican Party, and in many ways that propelled Trump to ascend to the presidency. But in abandoning that vision, he sides with the neocons who plunged us into wars, not only disastrous in Iran, but also Syria, Libya, Somalia. We're still bombing Somalia, Yemen, the Ukraine proxy war against Russia. 200.
Bro, it literally never ends. never ends. And like how that, honestly, we shouldn't let these politicians speak for a second. Every time they open their mouth, be like, when is it going to end? When's it going to end? Every time they open their mouth, shut them down. Bro, you got an answer for us yet? When are we going to stop waging war with the rest of the world? You know, it's like, I wish everybody would just, or we could get everybody on board and just stay home, or, you know, peaceful non-cooperation or something, and, you know, force the issue. Like, dude, we're just gonna let this damn thing collapse unless, you know what, like, and we could do that. You know, we have serious grievances we want redressed, you know, with maybe the Constitution, with money in politics, lobbying, this bribing crap. It's like, dude, we all just need to stay the hell home and say, bro, y'all ain't nothing is moving in this country until you sons of bitches sit down, until we sit down at a table and hash this shit out. Because right now, we're just an enslaved a herd of people. They have the whip hand. We can't make, you know, like, anytime we vote, they just ignore it. And we're watching them systematically destroy everything. Like, why? Why can't we actually do something? It blows my mind. Like, nobody even talks about doing something. You know, like, what the hell? It's not that hard. We wouldn't have to shoot anybody. Literally stay home. That's all we'd have to do, stay home. And they would have no choice. No choice at all. They would have to deal with us. Where are they going to find another 300 million people in such short notice? You know, that, and that, my friends, that would bring the whole world to a screeching halt. Why? Why don't we use the power that we have? You know, it's stupid. We have an immense amount of power that we may not have much longer. And we don't use it. We just let them bend us over a barrel and, you know, stick a fist up our rear end. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why? Why can't we just do something? Like, voting isn't working. It's not working. We do have power, other power besides voting. There's nothing in the Constitution that says we can't strike. There's nothing I mean, to think that the Constitution, or that would be, it would inhibit us from collectively bargaining with our captors, with our jail keepers, our turnkey. Like, we could do this. We could extract some demands from them, stop what's happening, like what they're doing, without anybody getting hurt. I mean, but we don't. Honestly, I think it's because everybody, you know, we have a political system, and people, the way they think of things is, you know, it's like, I have my one vote, you know, and the rest takes care of itself. You know, the society, the culture, the nation takes care of itself. We just show up for our elections and vote. That hasn't been getting it done. We've been doing this for half a century. Haven't gotten anywhere. Nowhere. We've gone backwards. What's the, you know, and what do we have to lose? Honestly, what do we have to lose? What are they going to do? Open fire on us, like in our houses? Just like gutless, you know. Our leaders are gutless, and we have created a culture where everybody, we basically all are saying, well, it's our politicians' job to fix this. Well, it's obvious they're not doing it. They have no intentions of doing a good job or representing us. It's time for everybody to sack up and get a little bit more involved than previously.
$1 billion down the drain there, with over 1 million casualties there so far. The occupation of Iraq, all this lunacy for nothing. We paid everything for nothing. Actually, worse than nothing. The loss of blood, treasure, and the destruction of America's reputation abroad.
What's up, puppet boy?
It's not Tokyo. So in order to convince people to go die for a cause, probably you should convince them the cause is worth dying for. But which cause has been worth dying for? Honestly, dying, like actually dying. Or how about getting your face blown off? How about your ears melted off your head? Losing all your fingers? How about having your genitals shredded? What cause is worth that? Well, if it's worth it, tell me how. Tell me how it's worth it, because we don't speak German? A lot of Americans don't speak English at this point. These are tired and stupid, in fact, nonsensical talking points, but they're also more than that. They're deeply insulting. You are lecturing a population that you personally have taken advantage of, whose total destruction you have overseen, and you've done nothing to stop it. You did nothing when the Sacklers flooded Appalachia, the part of the country that disproportionately fought the wars that you called for, and destroyed them with opioids. You said nothing. You said nothing when this country was invaded, and its $1 trillion military didn't stop that invasion. And for you to lecture the rest of the nation about a can-do attitude, what do you make my freaking burritos then?
Yeah.
It's too much. And then to cap it off with the lie that you and every other person in the media is now repeating, that Iran is trying to assassinate President Trump. As a statement of fact, that is not true. So they're now telling us that Donald Trump was the target of an assassination attempt by a guy with a man-pad, a surface-to-air missile, inside the security perimeter in Ankara, Turkey, during the NATO summit. That's not true. That's factually untrue. And they'll lie about it. Oh, you don't have the intel. Well, actually, some of us have called around. Untrue.
Of course it's untrue, and guess where that intelligence came from? I'll give you one guess, and it's not Qatar, it's not Russia, it's not China. It's Israel, who would only benefit from that if the United States believed in it, which they did. They moved Trump into 2 successive different jets when they thought this was true back a few months ago, when Trump was trying to sell the MOU in that small window of time. The Israelis wanted to sabotage that arrangement by making the United States think that Iran was really going to assassinate Trump. Why? To tank the MOU, to keep the United States in the war, and perhaps even convince the U.S. to launch an escalation, which still might come, by the way, because this decrepit, corrupt presidential administration always defers to the Israelis above the United States. His own intelligence committee, he just ignores in favor of Mossad and David Barnea. And Benjamin Netanyahu telling him, hey, a decapitation strike will be easy. We've broken that down right here. But Tucker's right, of course. These psychopaths benefit from the mass siphoning of wealth from the populace to be plunged into Israel's wars. And not only that, a disproportionate amount of money is drawn from a less wealthy class in the form of Social Security and Medicare, funneled into the pockets of Mark Levin and the boomer generation. Say what you want about it. That's just what this is. It's a mass extortion apparatus and redistribution scheme to fund people that are psychopaths, that want war, that want welfare. They have no problem with all the debt, because why? Well, inflation wasn't as bad in their day. They could afford a house on an annual salary.
Yeah.
But if you can't, you're just not working hard enough. You don't know how easy and good you have it. And you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps no more.
Right? Over here complaining about an expensive burrito. We're so ungrateful, aren't we, guys?
Americans won't take that anymore, and I'm glad this is being exposed.
So why are they reporting that? Well, of course, like so much that you read and see on television or on the internet, it is the product of a propaganda campaign designed to change the course of events on the ground. a propaganda campaign designed to convince Donald Trump that he has to restart major combat operations
Crazy.
against Iran because they're trying to kill him personally.
Insane.
And so they tell him, as they have been for more than a year, ever since the Butler shooting, Iran did it. You need to get in a separate aircraft. You need to be moved on the tarmac inside a drink cart because they're going to assassinate you at any second.
So ridiculous. It's absurd.
And why are they telling Trump that, who apparently believes it? It's not true, by the way. That is a lie. They're telling him that because they think that if they can make it personal, that Trump will have a stake, an emotional stake in continuing this war against Iran, which the United States, to restate, cannot win. How do we know we can't win it? Because we haven't been able to open the Strait of Hormuz despite having a fleet of vessels that can't even approach the Iranian coast.
Bro, you guys seen that the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier? Bro, it's been at sea for over, I think, 200 days, like over 30 weeks. Those sailors have been trapped on a battleship for nigh on a year. A year. They're eating gruel. They're eating gruel. They're supposed to hit a, like, and they never even had a port of call or a destination port. When they set sail, it was open-ended, and they refused to let them go home. 3 sailors have attempted to jump off the ship, or have jumped off. And guess why they're there? Guess where they're at, and guess why they're there? The Middle East. They're there because Israel can't defend themselves. They don't have the missiles. So in case Iran attacks, our boys have to be tortured and held in a floating prison hulk for like 32 weeks. I'm talking, this is no joke, guys. Like, these poor dudes, their families are like blowing up, the admirals and the military. They're like, wives, girlfriends are crying because their husbands and their boyfriends that are on that ship are like confiding in them at the end of the night saying, Jesus, I pray to God I don't wake up in the morning. Like, yes. This is like, I mean, it's so sickening. I went on one cruise in my life when I was like 16. It was like jail. It was the worst experience I've ever had on vacation. And to think of like 30 something weeks, you know, they're only supposed to be out for a couple weeks, like 3 weeks at the most. They're out for 30 weeks. Man, I could imagine guys starting to just just finish it, because they're not allowed to leave. They're feeding them garbage. They're hardly taking showers. I mean, and there's nothing they can do. The military doesn't give a damn. They're holding them to, it's pretty disgusting. Like, we've come this far as a country. You know, in my lifetime, you know, maybe, but when I was a kid in my childhood, this would have never happened. Never. You know, we had so much pride in our military. No, we would have never let that happen. Not for a second. Bro, we have fallen so far. They're keeping our sailors hostage on ships. And because the other ships can't do it, you know, the Gerald Ford, no good. They had to send it somewhere else. The Abraham Lincoln's the only one that can do this. So these poor bastards, they can't get away. And they just keep sending resupply ships. And you know, just barely squeaking by, not getting any new sailors. I mean, it says a lot about this country, about the military. Even the military, I mean, you know, the military, I always thought people were crazy for looking at the military as like a college scholarship program. It's kind of absurd, crazy. But it damn sure ain't no college scholarship program now. You don't see anybody talking like that. Not anymore. Because you ain't going to get any better of a shake in the military. You probably get a worse shake, if anything, today, anyhow. You know, like, we're just not doing all that great.
So rather than pausing and ask, why are we spending $1.5 trillion a year on a defense budget, or now a war budget, that is unable to beat what we were told is a second-rate or third-rate military, a third-world country run by primitives who murder gays by throwing them off the roof, and we can't even open a piece of water so 20% of the world's energy can flow through? How's our military doing? Shut up. Not one moment.
Bro, Tucker is going so hard in the paint, man. Like, he's really landing body shots here, and it feels so good because how often have I've this is the first time I've ever seen in my life where a pundit that high up that rubs elbow with the president is bashing them like this. He sounds like us. He sounds like me.
Of reflection or self-awareness even. Not one moment of asking the obvious questions about our own failures that the rest of us paid for, have gone into debt for. One of the reasons you can't buy a cheap burrito unless Mark Levin makes one for you, and we hope he will. We hope he has that can-do attitude that gets him in your kitchen rolling you a burrito for free. But in the event he doesn't do that, it's going to cost you more than it used to buy a burrito. Why? Because the country's too in debt. Why? Well, the main driver of debt, foreign wars.
Yeah, it's actually not the main driver of debt. It is a large portion of it, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it is the welfare state. The Pentagon budget is something like a third of the welfare state's budget, not to detract from this take. Of course, this is disastrous. It's led to monumental amounts of debt. And yeah, I think we'd be waiting a long time for Mark Levin to come into our kitchen and build a burrito with that same can-do attitude he wants you to have. But these people need to be exposed because this lunacy has run rampant for way too long. I mean, inflation started to explode in the United States after Nixon took the United States off the gold standard permanently in 1971, ending the Bretton Woods arrangement that allowed for people to exchange dollars for gold on site. That did happen at one point in the United States. It's exploded since then. Take a look at any graph if you want to see that. And since then, the money printing sprees have been done to finance all this debt that's accumulated. A lot of it is due to these foreign wars. Something like $10 to $12 trillion has been spent on the war on terror alone. That's over a quarter of the debt that exists right now. And what that is it devalues the currency. The more dollars that are emitted into the economy by the central.
It's literally stealing. They print more money. They're taking value out of your bank account. For every dollar they print, the money in your bank, the value that the sum total of your bank account would buy, every dollar lowers that. You have the same amount of dollar bills or the same amount of currency, but the currency won't buy the same amount of goods. This is theft. This is like a backdoor, sneaky, scumbag Jew way of taxing your taxing your people without actually taxing them or letting them know that you're stealing from them.
Bank through quantitative easing, buying mortgage-backed securities and bonds is an invisible tax against wealth holdings. And the more you print, the more debasement of the dollar there is. That's just a lesson learned through history. It destroyed ancient republics. It destroyed Rome, who engaged in these schemes in the 3rd century, Western Roman Empire. It destroyed the Yuan dynasty, where their fiat printing sprees collapsed the dynasty. In the Weimar Republic, it led to the ascension of Hitler in many ways. In Greece, it collapsed. In countless places, the inflationary crisis destroyed the economy. And in many of those cases, it was in conjunction with these stupid foreign wars. America and the American political class has never learned that lesson because they want theirs. This generation, they want theirs right now at the expense of future generations and posterity.
Bro, not just the expense of future generations, at the expense of our civilization. It's plain as day as far as I'm concerned. They're willing to tank the entire planet, basically. They're willing to throw everybody into poverty, into chaos to get theirs. Obviously, look what they're doing with the Strait of Hormuz and this fuel shortage or whatever. You know, it's not just future generations. It's like they're saying human beings can go to hell. Like human beings in general. These people, they have no they're not in very good stead with human beings at the moment. You know, if we took a vote of everybody in the world, I would imagine, like, if it was like, should these people be allowed to remain on planet Earth or not? Pretty sure they wouldn't be on. I mean, and it's not that big of a group of them. You know, it's like the guys that run America, the guys that run Israel. And the entire planet is struggling because of these assholes.
As they forge proverbial shackles on the ankles of future generations to pay for it.
That's a fact. The main driver of debt, foreign wars, our discretionary budget, it all goes to war. Wars we don't win. Wars that are being waged not because the public wants them, but because Mark Levin is calling for them on behalf of the interests of a foreign country. That's a fact. And to continue that, they're now laying this lie, this head trip on the president. Oh, they're trying to assassinate you in the tarmac. Better get in the drink cart and sneak on to another aircraft. And a lot of Americans are just like believing it because they're telling him that. Oh, Mark Levin, yeah, assassinating the president. Okay. Killed thousands of Americans. Okay. You must have missed that part where they were sending opioids into Appalachia. I don't think that was the Iranians who did that. In any case, it's worth at this point taking a step back and assessing really the root problems here. So inflation is real. No one wants to admit it because the policymakers caused it. It's not something that just naturally happens. Inflation is what happens when you mistreat the currency that you don't own. It belongs to the American public. You're in charge of it and you use it for your own benefit and not theirs. And you have short-sighted thinking that in the end.
And that's it too. They do have, they're a bunch of idiots, and all they're concerned with is making that quick buck. It's as if they know something we don't. Like maybe there's a meteor coming for Earth and, you know, they're like, bro, there ain't going to be a future. You know, because it's like, dude, they're just throwing everything, you know, to the dogs here.
Destroys nations and it's destroying ours.
Throughout history, this is a lesson learned in the hardest ways, that is what inflation causes, the destruction of countries, the dismantlement of prosperity within a country. Countless times has this been demonstrated. I gave a few examples before. And yet, as this is happening, as this is unraveling the fabric of the originally intended American Republic, and don't get me wrong, that fabric's been long unwinded, if you ask me, with these central banking inflationary schemes and all the wars that come with them. They kind of need each other. The war makers, the military-industrial complex, they need the banks to finance.
One hand washes the other, as they say.
Their war operations. Why? They can't tax the people enough to finance them. So they use the central bank method of taxation, the unlegislated form, in the form of inflation, emitting more currency through a centrally managed oligarchy that represents in some ways the worst aspects of the collusionary schemes between private companies. Not really private when you're colluding with government for advantages, trade monopolies, in this case, a monopoly on the emission of legal tender currency, and in cahoots with the government. The worst form of governance is unleashed in this manner. And Abbas Araghchi, who is the foreign minister in Iran, I think said it best when someone asked him, is this assassination attempt plot against Trump, is this true? Is there any reality to it? He said, no, we would have no need to do that. We don't want to do that. President Trump is already destroying the United States. And
wow. Hey, facts. And it's sad to say, but it's the truth.
Man, you think about that, and that is true. At
Yeah.
least in this conflict, that's the
He's
worst
burning
thing
it
that's
to the
happening
ground.
is the United States remains embroiled in it, all for the sake of Israel, choosing Israel. What advantage would the Iranians have if they really did have an assassination attempt that succeeded against an American president? Well, you'd see an unleashing of patriotic fervor against Iran
Maybe.
in ways that may even dwarf 9/11. That's what would happen. And democratic leadership
Possibly,
would be on board with an escalation against Iran to
Yeah, they
get
have
back
nothing
at
to
them for
gain.
doing it. Trump would immediately become a martyr. A lot of these people that feign opposition to Trump in Washington, the Democratic establishment would all be behind it. Why? Because that would justify in their heads the new wave of escalations and a new
Stormberg.
phase of this war that might bring about hundreds of thousands of people to be deployed into the Middle East again, just like Iraq, but this time with the propaganda narrative that we need to avenge a dead American president. It doesn't benefit Iran whatsoever. It's totally farcical. And of course it's farcical because it comes from Israeli intelligence. Their whole intelligence apparatus is designed not to propagandize the rest of the world. It's designed to propagandize Americans
us,
and American administrations to help them and collaborate in their wars of choice so that they don't expend the resources. They're not sending any soldiers into Iran. They're not expending and depleting their treasury for this war of choice for Netanyahu, the Hail Mary of the clean break strategy in Iran. They're not doing that. They're calling upon you and me to do it at all the expenses that we pay in form of debt, inflation, dead soldiers, war crimes committed against that girls' school in Lambert, which they lied about and tried to cover up, and the destroyed U.S. bases. That's what we get from it. And the inflation crisis that is sweeping through the United States.
Bro, we've got nothing but pain. Pain. And it's like our politicians, they're dead set on just seeing how far they can push us.
So just reject Mark Levin. He can't be entertained whatsoever. He's a caricature, a punching bag of sorts now to just lash out at. Just totally emblematic of an out-of-touch mentality that we love to be dead in Washington. That mentality needs to be ended. The idea that we can just go overseas,
Damn right.
waging these wars for a foreign country above our own.
Hell
And if you
yes.
dare to complain about it, well, you're just not sacrificing enough. Oh, Mark Levin never sacrificed? Oh, yeah, that's pretty telling.
That's right.
But that's what you get from these psychopaths. So I'm really glad that Tucker did a segment on this, linking inflation to the calamities of war. Great segment to have, and there's so many intrinsic connections that Americans need to be aware about, because I really believe there's value in highlighting how even if the Iran war and the Middle East and foreign policy isn't at the top of your priority list, you can see how it does affect all the things that are important to you domestically in terms of what you have to pay for what you get. And what you get for what you pay is not quite the same as it even was 10 years ago. So that's what we're dealing with. What do you guys think? Do you think Tucker Carlson's right about this? How big of a psychopath is Mark Levin? Doesn't he just exist
He's
to
scum,
destroy
man. Truly.
in
Hell
response
yeah.
clips at this point? That's what I think he does. Let me know down in the description below. Let me know your response there. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the full video that Tucker has. Really great breakdown on this issue. And if you like this video, please consider joining as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button down below. And if you do that, you get immediate access to all my videos before they go live to the general public. And I really appreciate your support. If you do that, my members get to see several videos at any time before anyone.
Fantastic. Huh. I didn't see this one. With that Sargon-of-Akkad. I didn't know Sargon-of-Akkad was an empire. It was an ancient empire. I had no idea. Shut up!
Tucker Carlson was shouting at the walls of his cosplay cabin in Maine about goy slop and burritos and Israeli influence operations. Alp does a body good. Because there is...
Bro, what is with Ben Shapiro and bringing up Tucker Carlson's nicotine pouch company? Every time he brings this man up, he has to say something snide and childish about nicotine, which is, it's like a stimulant like coffee.
Actually a metric ton of anti-American slop being shovel-fed to all of us these days. I want to do something slightly different today. I want to talk about the actual American dream, what it is, what it means, and what it most certainly.
Yeah, you ready for this, guys? Ben Shapiro is going to tell you what it means to be an American. He's going to tell you, this guy whose family has been in this country all of what, 2 generations? He's going to tell us where we're slouching, where we're failing to measure up. Like, it's crazy. This guy who's a foreigner, who certainly doesn't consider himself an average American, is going to actually pretend that he has any business or I mean, just any business to be telling American citizens like that were raised by American citizens that were raised by, you know what I'm saying? And it galls me that this guy, this Jay, who's an Israel, he's an Israeli, married an Israeli, that's like his wife is Israeli, his kids are half Israeli. They're Israelis. He's going to tell us how to be a good American, how to be a proper American. Like, these guys don't realize like how the danger that they're flirting with here. They don't they think that, they think that everything's fine. Everything's normal. Nothing out of place here. And they seem to think, that this is as bad as things can get. It's like they've never actually experienced, Ben certainly, but it's been so long since there was any real civil unrest. But by God, they're getting close to that. They really are. The way that they're sort of taunting us. And it's almost like, they're rubbing it in, and it makes you just want to burn the whole damn thing down and say, yeah, pretty big deal, huh, Ben? Or is, was this just we're just a bunch of children, a bunch of babies that are, lazy. It's like, what, do we have to burn the country down before they believe that we're struggling or that this is unacceptable? It's like no matter what we say, they think it's like they're riding around on E, and they just don't believe the gauge. Let's see how far I can stretch it. Like, bro, this is crazy.
Isn't. This is The Ben Shapiro Show.
The Ben Shapiro Show. I'm about to change it. I just wanted to.
So, as I said, I spent yesterday going to New York talking business with some of the most successful and brilliant business people in America. You know what my main take?
Lucky you, with the most successful and brilliant business people in America. Well, good for you, bro. A lot of good it's doing, everybody. Sons of bitches. This man. I hate Ben Shapiro. Something awful. Ooh, here we go.
For the media and for the so-called
this is
for the first time since the temperance movement of the 19th century, which led to the catastrophe of prohibition, alcohol has once again become a very dirty word in the United States. And it happened pretty suddenly, too. No matter where you look, from podcast to television news to WebMD, you'll find the same message, which is genuinely insane. They'll tell you that any amount of alcohol, no matter how small, will.
This blows my mind. I can't even believe this. But first of all, Matt Walsh, this guy, it's like, does he know no bounds? Like, is there any level that he won't stoop to? Oh, is it? Hang on, I need it. I think it's not loaded or something. Yeah, it's like any level this guy won't stoop to make a buck, I guess. I guess that's what he's doing. But he's shilling for alcohol. It's like, dude, people stop drinking alcohol and you think it's incumbent upon you to like cape, be a hero for liquid, like some poisonous liquid. You're going to step up and be the mouthpiece for alcohol. Like, bro, you're sticking, who are you? Like, it's kind of naked. It's kind of a naked, what he's doing here. It's like, who could he be serving by this? Who could he be serving? Honestly, other than alcohol company owners. Like, that's who this guy cares about right here. He's lobbying the American people. You guys aren't drinking enough alcohol. You know, some of our businesses, some of our alcohol, our spirit manufacturers are going to go out of business. Good riddance to bad rubbish. We don't want their fucking poison anymore. Like, who does this, like, dude, if people stop drinking alcohol, it's not because they forgot it exists. It's because they consciously stopped. Golly, the Daily Wire, good Lord, somebody douse that thing in kerosene and throw a match to it.
Poison you. They'll tell you that you'll get cancer if you drink, in addition to destroying your sleep cycle and your will to live. And this message is everywhere. Watch.
But of course, alcohol's worse than pot.
Alcohol's worse than pot.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
Basically, isn't alcohol worse than everything?
Yeah. 0 alcohol is better than any.
Right.
2 drinks maximum for an adult non-alcoholic per week.
Oh,
it's kind of the upper threshold.
Why in the hell is it not? I guess it's not. It's not on the right. Hang on. My bad. Stupid. There we go. Sorry.
Per week. Wait, what you can do without starting to increase your risk for cancer, about 5% of all
Business
cancers.
week?
About 100,000 cases of cancer each year in the United States are due to alcohol consumption, and about 20,000 deaths. This isn't a small problem.
Mayo Clinic's Dr. Donald Hendred says alcohol is the 3rd leading preventable cause of cancer in the U.S., behind tobacco use and obesity.
The risk starts with actually relatively low intakes of alcohol over a long period of time. Assuming it once in a while probably isn't going to increase the risk that much, but there are many people who consume it regularly, and there are many people who assume that there are health benefits on the heart, and these benefits probably aren't as strong as what we used to believe.
He says when drinking alcohol is combined with tobacco use, the risk of cancer increases significantly.
Studies have suggested the optimal amount of alcohol for people less than 50 is 0. We need to dial back, I think, a little bit on our alcohol consumption.
It's one of those areas where you don't understand the hidden cost until you really give it up for a while. And I think about my own relationship with drinking, and I stopped drinking at 30 years old. I'm now 33. And I had just drank because I just drank. I'd never ran the experiment of just giving it up for a while. And then I don't know, maybe I was at 31. I thought, I'll have a drink again. Because now I could really A/B test it. I had a year of not drinking, decided to have a drink again. It ruined 3 days of my life. I had a couple of glasses of wine, didn't get drunk. It ruined 3 days of my life because of the domino effect it caused. So it meant that I got worse sleep that night. And then because I got worse sleep that night, I ate more poorly the next day because my dopamine system or whatever, the cortisol system was all messed up. Resilience, yeah. And then I podcasted worse. I didn't go to the gym the day after, that day or the day after because of that, because I felt really bad.
Now, we played that last clip before, a few months ago, but it truly never gets old. I mean, you'd have to waterboard me for like a month to get me to talk like that, and I still probably wouldn't. I mean, he says he podcasted worse, and that.
It never ceases to amaze me here. We live in a democracy, and we have thought leaders, we have pundits, politicos that are tasked with being our mouthpiece, for speaking on our behalf, for putting words to how we feel. The people that are tasked with with speaking for us and representing us literally aren't representing us. They're representing the alcohol, big alcohol. Like, they're not, they represent anybody before they represent us. The guys that are supposed to be on our side are trying to get, like, how, this is absurd. But it's like, these alcohol companies, they're going to go bankrupt. They're going to, go defunct. And anytime, like, and this is how you know that our society and our culture is just, they're trying to move us to the consumption model, the consumer model. If any business, if we stop patronizing a business or an industry and it starts going out of business, no matter how superfluous this industry is, like alcohol, it's not only superfluous, it's deadly. It kills a lot of people every year. And they're tripping over themselves to advocate on their behalf to us. They're fucking lobbying us to save big alcohol. It's beyond belief. My mind is beggared. This, I can't even believe it. Honestly, it's such a boon to us if America walks away from alcohol willingly. That is such a boon. Our healthcare is going to go down. Deaths by murder, by car accident, although that may not, car accidents may not be a thing of the future, but death, almost all murders in America, either the victim or the perpetrator is drunk. And this guy is trying to, he's trying to talk us. You know how many people die in car accidents from this? How many children are run over by drunk drivers? Jackass here, who's supposed to be for the children, remember? No. America's giving up alcohol, and this guy, he's not jumping for joy. He's trying to talk us out of it. That's how big of a shill this dude is, and that's how much horse shit everything he says is. It's a bunch of horse shit. I don't believe a word this jackass says anymore. He's a shill. A shill.
3 days of his life were ruined
Scum.
because he drank a couple glasses of wine. I mean, it couldn't have been anything else, like maybe a virus, food poisoning. Couldn't be the fact that he's really a woman in disguise. I mean, no, it was definitely the 2 glasses of wine that somehow caused a debilitating 3-day hangover in this otherwise healthy young adult man. And then there's the claim on Bill Maher's show and from the Mayo Clinic that alcohol causes cancer, which sounds scary until you realize that everything you consume, literally everything, including bacon, red meat, coffee, tea, Chinese food, so on, also increases your risk of cancer. There are studies on all of this. And I could sit here for the next hour listing foods that might cause cancer: beef, pork chops, cereal, white bread, cookies, ice cream, and on and on and on. Do you enjoy barbecued chicken cooked over charcoal? Well, I do too. Well, guess what?
Hey, Matt, what the hell does this have to do with the price of rice in China? You moron. How stupid is this guy? It's like, bro, nobody is worried about getting cancer from alcohol. It has not, cancer. Bro, yeah, everything does cause cancer. Even the sun, even light causes cancer. But you know what light doesn't cause? Children to get run over by cars. Doesn't cause people, to beat their children, beat their wives. Like, this guy's advocating for, like they used to say, white man's burden. How many people has alcohol ravaged and destroyed their life? And I have true sympathy for alcoholics too, because, I was an addict, but I could go into a convenience store without getting inundated with uh, advertisements for my, the drug I was addicted to. And alcoholics or people in recovery for alcohol, yeah, they every time they go into a grocery store, every time they go into a convenience store, they see it. So it's like, and AA, all of the hours of AA, all that stuff could be saved, at least for the alcohol, if people just gave it up. And this guy's trying to talk him out of it. Like, no, this is going to affect too many jobs, too many industries. Rehab workers will be put out of work. 7-Eleven cashiers will be put out of work. No, keg deliverers will be put out of work. No, people will stop consuming. No, like maybe we shouldn't be in such a, so hell bent on holding this country up. The damn thing seems hell bent to fall, to be honest with you. Seems hell bent to fall, and we're just like trying our damnedest to hold it up. Meanwhile, there's the entire establishment they're doing their damnedest to knock it over. Like, what in the hell? What is holding this thing up? Meanwhile, it's us, our stupid asses underneath it, trying to keep the damn thing from fall. But like, this is the country we live in, dude. We're like turning a new leaf. Our culture is actually like shedding poison. It's shedding a habit that we tried to shed this before with like he said, the temperance union. We tried this before and we couldn't do it. We're doing it now. Asshole here wants to talk us out of it. Fuck this guy, man. Fuck this guy. Fuck him and the horse he rode in on. I can't believe it. I want to see this guy look into his son's eyes and say, son, you better drink when you turn 8. Like, I want to see this asshole advocate for his own children. Or how about this, Matt? Why don't you get a bottle on your way home and have some alcohol with your kids when you get home, you fucking asshole? Like, seriously, it's like, I'm sure he wouldn't give it to his kids, but he's going to sit here and advocate that other people's kids should be able to get their hands on. Like, I fucking hate these people. And what's crazy, it's starting to feel more and more and more like it's just these conservative scumbag assholes. They're fucking assholes. Like I've been saying, like, conservatism, it's about prudence, prudentially evaluating and judging what change to accept. This guy is trying to reject our culture, shedding an extremely addictive substance. Can you believe this? Like, I can't even believe it. It's like, bro, how much money, how many people, how many families have been destroyed? Like, how much heartache does this stupid liquid cause? This son of a bitch is playing Superman for it, bro. It's crazy. Crazy, man.
Temperature and the smoke creates chemicals that stick to the surface of the chicken and might cause cancer. Have fun at the...
It might cause cancer. We know for a fact it causes cancer. Burnt toast causes cancer. Anything that has any sort of char on it is a carcinogen. But and same thing with chlorine. We put chlorine in our tap water, even though it causes cancer. You know why? Because it's a trade-off, and it's worth the trade-off. We take the risk, or we raise our chances to get cancer in our lifetime, so that we don't diarrhea and shit ourselves to death. So we don't get we don't throw up and spew diarrhea everywhere and die from dehydration. It's like, I'll take a few extra percentages of getting cancer, throughout my lifetime to avoid getting the giardia or something and literally puking my guts out. Like there are trade-offs. There are tons of our society, our life is nothing but trade-offs. But our tap water, yeah, chlorine causes cancer. We know this. You know, and like it's I don't drink tap water if I can help it, but it's like it has raised Americans' quality of life exponentially because we have clean water. We have clean water. You know, like when we have hurricanes and stuff and the water gets damaged and you can't, like, yeah, that stuff sucks. You don't, and then you realize how big of a deal clean water is. You can't do anything when the water is no good. I mean, it's like nothing. You can't do anything.
Cookout. Like I said, we could be here all day. And it's not just stuff you eat, by the way. Scented candles, household cleaners, plastic bottles, mattresses, furniture. Every day you are surrounded by seemingly innocuous objects that, according to research, can increase your risk of cancer to some degree. And that's to say nothing of the cell phone you're currently holding in your hand or in your pocket.
Check this
Life
out.
is
Totally figured this out. This is one of the, I've told you guys I'm working on stuff. This is one of them.
itself increases your risk of developing cancer. Everybody will get cancer eventually if they live long enough. Like,
yeah, they say men will get prostate cancer if they live long enough. Guaranteed. Eventually you will get it.
Commissioner Gordon or whichever character said in The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself get cancer, or words to that effect. I don't really remember. I think it was something like that. Now, of course, amid all this fear-mongering, nobody ever really explains, when they tell us about increased cancer risk from alcohol or anything else, they don't really explain that they're talking about relative risk, not absolute risk. I explained this also on the show a few months ago, but it bears repeating. When it's announced that, for example, moderate drinking increases a woman's risk of breast cancer by 23%, which is what they'll say, what they mean, though they rarely explain it, is that it increases her relative risk by.
Bro, that's still an increase in the risk, you idiot. Even if it's it's still an increase in risk. He's trying to say that, yeah, your risk doesn't go up. Yes, it does. Just not, not in the simple way that it, the misleading way that if you just look at the 23, it's misleading, but your risk still goes up. Just less than 23%. Like, what is he? He's trying to convince us that, some risk is good, especially over a substance that kills brain cells, the only utility it has is really as like a fuel, fuel or disinfectant. Has no utility as a beverage, really. This guy's saying, that's worth the risk, though, fellas. That's absolutely worth the risk. Famous last words. Is it worth the, is it worth the risk of like wrecking your car? Or killing some kid in a DUI accident or something? Like, it's crazy.
23%. But what that means in real life depends on the absolute risk. So you have to know the baseline. And for women, the baseline chance of developing breast cancer is 13%, which is already way too high, but that's the baseline, without drinking anything. Moderate drinking reportedly increased.
How so, Matt? It's already way too high? Obviously not. Obviously, that's the best we can do. So we're just going to have to live with it. So, you can say that it's obviously a problem all you want, but unless you've got solutions, asshole, why don't you just shut your stupid mouth up?
Is that 13% risk by 23%. So it's not 23% of 100%, it's 23% of 13%, which means that the actual risk increase is about 3%.
Oh,
for example, for another example, we're told that heavy drinking, which is obviously not healthy, increases your risk of esophageal cancer by, I think they say 400%. But the absolute risk of esophageal cancer is less than 1%, which means that
Hey, Matt, you still haven't told us why it is in our best interest to start drinking again. You keep telling us how it's such a low risk. but you haven't given us an actual reason that the risk, even the low risk, is worth taking. Why don't you start there? Seriously.
100% increase brings you up to a risk of about 2.5 to about
What do we stand
3%.
to gain?
Now, you might feel that any increase in risk, even a percent, is too much for you. And certainly, as I said, heavy drinking is not a good idea. Consuming basically any substance immoderately is not a good idea. But it's important to put these things into perspective, and perspective has been entirely lost in this conversation. For the media and for the so-called public health experts, there is no value in perspective. People will just get confused, they think. You bog them down with too many details. It's much simpler to just tell people that alcohol is the main threat to their health. It's poison. Even one sip can cause cancer, which is what they actually say now. Even though in the entire history of the human race, there has never been a documented case of somebody getting cancer from one sip of alcohol, or from one drink, or from 2 drinks, or from 50. But it's technically possible.
Every one of those drinks kills brain cells. Alcohol makes you fat. It's basically pure sugar, or at least your body metabolizes it into pure sugar. It has almost no nutritional value, so you're just drinking a shitload of empty calories for what? I don't know. But he just keeps trying to obfuscate us into thinking it's a good idea. It kills brain cells, bro. Straight up. And a hell of a lot of other health risks. I would imagine everybody kind of knows, alcohol, there's a lot of health risks to it. A lot. I mean, you can drink yourself to death. People get date rape, drugs, and alcohol poisoning, addiction. You can die from withdrawals from alcohol. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive about it because, I've been to rehab and stuff, but this seems diabolical to me. Diabolical. And you know what's funny? Let's say that we were quitting marijuana. The country was quitting marijuana. Does anybody honestly think that this shitbird would actually come out and defend and tell us, oh, you guys should get back to smoking? Oh, come on. It's not bad for you. It's good. Come on, guys. Relax, guy. Seriously, he wouldn't do that for... Why is alcohol so special? What's going on here? Why is he so worried about alcohol? If it was weed, he would be the first one to celebrate. What is so special about this drug? You can, at least weed, you can't overdose from it. There's a lot less risk to smoking weed. But that's despicable. He thinks that's totally despicable. But somehow alcohol isn't. It's I think one child is one too many getting killed by drunk drivers. Dude, good riddance to bad rubbish, man. That many more children are going to live their natural lives. They're going to live the full length of their natural life because we aren't drinking anymore. This is something to be celebrated.
Possible, I guess, maybe. So that's what they'll say. Then, as an added benefit, they'll have a much easier time selling millions of Americans on other drugs that they can use to solve their problems, from SSRIs to weed to mushrooms. Big Pharma would prefer you to take SSRIs. Podcasters would generally steer you towards the weed and the mushrooms. Even when it's not so heavy-handed, the full-on propaganda campaign is hard to miss. And it's hit a fever pitch lately, as evidenced by the following segment that just aired on ABC News, which claims to be a news network. Now, there was a time many years ago, and if you're a younger person, say under the age of 50, you're not going to remember this. I don't either. But there was a time when ABC News would cover stories of importance to the average American. And today, ABC's biggest story I hope you're sitting down for this, is the scandalous news that Brad Pitt, the actor, recently consumed an alcoholic beverage. Just one, or maybe it was two.
You know what I think is kind of crazy here too is he's talking about the all-out propaganda campaign and this and that, and it's like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with anything. Americans aren't giving up alcohol because of propaganda. They're giving it up because they don't like it. They don't want it. You're the propaganda shill, you scumbag. You are the shill. People don't want your fucking poison anymore, dipshit. They, on their own, decided they've had enough of the drunk driving. They've had enough of the children being murdered by selfish drunk scumbags like you. You know, enough families have had to watch their fathers drink themselves to death or beat their mother within an inch of her. I mean, it's just like, this is crazy. People are walking away from it. Who do you think you are, Mr. Matt Walsh, to try and talk people out of quitting poison? I mean, it's diabolical. Diabolical. I've been to rehab. I know how dangerous this shit is. This guy should, and this is like a crime practically.
Yeah, if you can believe it, a famous Hollywood actor decided one day to drink a moderate amount of alcohol. This is a story that's so shocking in the minds of ABC producers that they included various self-help resources at the end of the segment, just in case any of their viewers or, thinking of following Brad Pitt's example. They're treating this news as if Brad Pitt just went on a rampage in Beverly Hills, leaving no survivors in his wake. So behold, the ABC News report entitled, Brad Pitt says he drank again after 7 years of sobriety. This is a full-length segment that was actually broadcast by a major news network in the United States. Watch.
Brad Pitt is pulling back the curtain on his sobriety. He says he began drinking again after 7 years of being sober.
It's okay. Come on. Just a bad dream.
In a candid new interview with Esquire, discussing in part his upcoming movie, Heart of the Beast. The 62-year-old actor-producer saying, I was sober for 7 years, and then I got back off the wagon in a more restrained manner. In 2020, Brad Pitt gave credit to his friend Bradley Cooper for his sobriety.
I got sober because of this guy, and every day has been happier ever since.
The F1 and Fight Club star,
Welcome to Fight Club.
like so many non-celebrities, is among a growing number of people who've been public about being caught up in the pattern of alcohol abuse and recovery in Hollywood.
And if you or anyone you know needs help with substance abuse, call 800-662-HELP or visit findtreatment.gov.
So it's quite a scoop. Brad Pitt gave up drinking for a while, and now he's drinking again. Okay. Did he get a DUI?
Why isn't Matt celebrating? I don't get it. I mean, apparently that's what he wants, people to drink.
Did he run a family of 4 off the road? Did he vomit all over a clerk at the Cracker Barrel? As far as I know, no. Brad Pitt didn't do any of that. He just had a couple of...
But it's possible. Like, why are you asking? Yeah, because you know that's the kind of stuff that happens when people drink. Why are you advocating for this? You are a bad person, sir.
Drinks in moderation. What a horrifying prospect. It's only a matter of time before he gets cancer. In perhaps the least surprising development of all time, this anti-alcohol panic originated, or at least has been heavily pushed by the World Health Organization, or WHO. Now, the WHO, as we all know, assisted the Chinese government in covering up the fact that their lab, which was funded by Tony Fauci and the U.S. government, had created COVID in the first place. And additionally, the WHO pushed the COVID lockdowns, which ruined tens of millions of lives and served no legitimate purpose. This is easily the least reputable, least ethical public health organization on the planet, which is saying something. But after COVID hysteria died down, they didn't miss a beat. They went right back out there issuing new commandments that they expected everybody to follow without question. So in particular, in 2023, WHO published a statement declaring with absolute certainty that, quote, no level of alcohol consumption is safe for our health. No level. One sip, even.
I agree with that. I straight up agree with that. I think it serves no purpose. It's kind of a shitty high. You know, the juice is not worth the squeeze. This is a poison. It is legitimately, it is real poison. If it, you know, you die if you drink too much. You know, this is a substance that when people get addicted to it, they will drink rubbing alcohol and basically kill themselves in an attempt to get a fix. This guy's advocating for this. People will drink rubbing alcohol, end up in the damned hospital getting their stomachs pumped. Like, oh, this is just, you know, it's harmless. You know, some people can have one drink and be all right, but there are other people that can't. And when you advocate for alcohol or any drug, necessarily people are going to die, man. They're going to die. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, tablet. I mean, I never had a problem with drinking. I can have a half. I can have one drink. However many I want and stop. I don't really like it. But like, he's spinning this big, crazy facade edifice web to try and distract from the fact that he has no argument. He has nothing. He can't advocate for drinking alcohol in the positive. All he can do is say it's not that bad for you. He can't say what good will come of it if you drink alcohol. He can't, you know, because I mean, honestly, it's like, well, it would be nice to, I mean, if there's like, I'm not trying to drink something that there's no upside to it, and like like just never infinite downside. Like straight up.
It's not safe. Here's how one WHO official named Karina Ferreira Borges delivered the news. Quote, "We cannot talk about a so-called safe level of alcohol use. Doesn't matter how much you drink. The risk to the drinker's health starts from the first drop of any alcoholic beverage. The only thing we can say for sure is that the more you drink, the more harmful it is. Or in other words, the less you drink, the safer it is. We need cancer-related health information messages on labels of alcoholic beverages, following the example of tobacco products. We need empowered and trained health professionals who would feel comfortable to inform their patients about alcohol and cancer risk, and we need overall wide awareness of this topic in countries and communities." The first drop, even one drop, is not safe. This is what the global health organizations are saying, and the
Bro, this is a drug, a substance that our entire country throws people into jail and prison for when they've had 1 8-ounce drink and get behind the wheel of a car. People like get felonies if they have an 8-ounce alcoholic beverage, then get behind the wheel. That is how dangerous this drug is. Like, I can't overstate how, I mean, it blows me. I'm genuinely baffled, flabbergasted. Like, bro, this is like, if you would have told me 10 or 15 years ago that we would reach a period, well, first of all, woke and all, I would have never guessed that, but that we would reach a time when quote unquote conservatives and good, you know, upstanding citizens would be advocating for people to start drinking alcohol, I would have never believed you. And they would have never believed it either, because it was ubiquitous. Everybody drank alcohol, or a good chunk of European, Western society drinks alcohol. And you couldn't stop people from drinking it. Like they tried with prohibition. You couldn't stop it. They would just drink, you know, when you weren't looking. So that, you know, they honestly, they didn't think they could stop it. There was no point in advocating for it. You know, they couldn't stop it if they wanted to. Well, we start walking away from it, and these jackasses are like, whoa, people aren't drinking anymore. We need, you know, we got to do something, guys. This is unacceptable. You know, white replacement, that's acceptable. The browning of America, acceptable. Americans quit drinking alcohol? Whoa, man. We have got to get our butts in gear. We can't allow this. Like, bro, no, like, what kind of a crazy upside down world do we live in right now? This is, you know, like half the world doesn't drink alcohol because, yeah, like, you know, Muslims, it's like a lot of the world thinks we're crazy for drinking alcohol.
Media repeats it uncritically, and pretty soon the podcasters repeat it, and pretty soon the mass of people are also repeating it uncritically. Never mind the fact that it is not true, okay? It's not true. This is obviously a totally irrational, indefensible claim that's simply...
Okay, I grant you. Let me just say, let me, I'll grant you that. I'll be a good guy and grant you that. And, okay, and let's say that's the case. People would still be walking away from alcohol. No matter what the media says, no matter what you say, people still don't want to drink it. It's poison. It's literally poison. So, like, what are you doing here, Matt? You just like pissing in the wind for a deadly ass substance? Like, people don't want your fucking goy slop anymore. You fucking douchebag, bro. These people, they want us dead. They want us addicted. They want us enslaved, bro. And this piece of shit is their fucking bleeding edge, man. This guy is their avant-garde to keep the sheep in the paddock. That's this guy's job, to keep us on the plantation. Bro, we should just rise up and purge our country of this fucking scum, man.
is not true. But we're supposed to accept it anyway and offer no protest or correction because although they're lying, it's all supposedly for a good cause. But I don't really believe in lying for a good cause, and I don't actually agree that this is a good cause, so I must remind you again that aside from maybe the extremely rare case of somebody having like an ethanol allergy or something, there are no documented cases anywhere at all of anyone ever suffering measurable harms to their health from a sip of alcohol. Telling everyone that no amount is safe and the harms begin at the first sip obviously implies...
Dude, there's a risk of all kinds of stuff when you drink alcohol. They're just being good people and giving our country good advice. There's nothing to be gained from drinking this poison. Nothing. And everything to be lost. You could become addicted, destroy your life, wreck and kill a child or something. And there's nothing to be gained from having this so-called sip, this so-called one drink. Why? You know, it would be more, like he's saying they're dishonest. You know, it would be more dishonest of them to say what he's saying, to say, you know, alcohol, it's terrible for you. You know, hundreds of thousands of people end up in their graves every year because of alcohol, you know, indirectly or directly as a result of. And forgot where. God damn it, son of a bitch. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's what's the point of drinking? It's like, that's what I was gonna say. You know, they're less disingenuous than he is, because it's like, why are they going to go out of their way to say this is really poisonous, really bad? You could end up killing somebody, wrecking your car, destroying your life, but one drink is fine. One drink is fine. Don't worry about, there's not that much of a risk, Go ahead, try. Like, bro, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
That drinking alcohol is like drinking gasoline or sipping a nice glass of battery acid. When they say that one sip is not safe and there is no safe amount of alcohol, they are defining safe in the strictest way imaginable. Indeed, they are defining it in the way that, like a paranoid...
Only bad things can come from it. I think that's kind of reasonable. I think this is actually something they're somewhat reasonable on here, whoever he's talking about. This has been the bane of the white man's existence, the white man's burden for millennia. We're about to kick it to the curb. It's killed countless people. We're about to kick it to the curb, and this guy just all bent out of shape over it. Oh, man.
Obsessive compulsive who washes his hands 1,000 times a day until they bleed might define it. They are not defining safe in the way that you define it, in the way that normal human beings who desire to live functional lives and don't want to be paranoid obsessive compulsives describe it. So you can only make the claim that no amount of alcohol is safe if you are defining...
Wow, Dennis Prager. Shit. I just want to see what's up here.
So anybody that donates
this.
to our Prager United.
Damn it. Forgot it's the other source. There we go.
Program will be the patron of this incredible interview experience with you, and they can send in questions for you, and I'm sure you're okay taking some questions from Prager United members.
I love that.
And when people join Prager United, they can get things like this snazzy vest or this mug. Let me see what else. I'm going to show you examples of things you can get. Our board game, which has been incredibly popular. What else do I have here? Oh, I have Teddy. They don't get Teddy, but they do get to meet Teddy. I don't think you met Teddy yet. Do you know Teddy?
No.
Wow.
Who's Teddy's human companion?
So Teddy actually belongs to my kids, but my kids are at summer camp, so he's visiting here at the office, and we're putting him to work.
Okay.
I almost feel bad I kind of feel bad for Dennis Prager, because he's like this Israel first radical, basically. And just before like October 7th and stuff happens, just before the war, the fight, the conflict of his lifetime that he had been preparing his whole life for, the guy slips in his shower and breaks his neck and is totally sidelined out of it. This guy literally spent his life getting ready for a holy war of sorts, against the alt-right. And it's just before it pops off, this guy slips and breaks his neck. I mean, it's rotten luck.
Anyway, Teddy is also a Prager United member. He's a good boy.
When you picked him up, I thought he was a stuffed animal.
I know, he looks like a stuffed animal. So anyway, I'm putting him down here. New political movement.
With this.
I just wanted to kind of hear him talk for a minute, because he's been out of for a long time.
This is not that everything he said is wrong. A lot of what he said is accurate. We should make things. We have substituted ugly buildings for beautiful buildings. That's accurate. But it's one thing to list complaints. It's quite another to solve them. And the first one is scary. Fairness. America was not set up to be fair. That's what he said. America was set up to be fair. But I never saw that word in the vocabulary of the founding fathers. Life,
Well, how
liberty.
about this, Mr. Prager? We have a democracy, correct? We do. The whole idea of a democracy is that if you have a problem with the way things are, you can do something about it. You can advocate for, a policy or or whatever it is. And if bringing up problems and pointing out problems and stuff, if we shouldn't be doing that, then what the hell is the point of the fucking democracy in the first place? If we're just supposed to lie still while you fuck us prostrate, what's the point of a democracy? If we can't say, hey, this is no good, we're not, like, you're screwing us. And these assholes, they think you need to get up off your ass, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and become successful. Okay, and if the environment doesn't lend itself, whatever, if something is stopping me, I'm just supposed to say, well, I guess that's it. I guess I'm screwed. I guess I better find something. It's ridiculous. What is the point of democracy if we can't advocate for change, doucher? Like, it just seems crazy to me. How do they come up with these stupid arguments? Oh, you're complaining like about this and that. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. We can actually change something. If we can't change anything, then there's no point in even talking about it. Straight up. I mean, if we have to live with this shit, then we may as well just give up on politics.
In the pursuit of happiness. And we are all the beneficiaries of inalienable rights because our Creator gave us our rights. That has nothing to do with fairness. When you want to legislate fairness, you get an authoritarian government. I mean, you can't legislate fairness. There's built-in unfairness in life. Tall people have a much better chance of entering the NBA than average-sized people.
Oh,
all right, it's the way it works. Having said that, I have to be intellectually honest. He spoke about having the same rules for everybody. Everyone is equal before the law. That, of course, all of us agree with. That's the point, though, that when I was listening, I thought, anybody listening to this, if a Martian came down and listened to it, they would think America is a cesspool, that America is an awful country. And, I've been to 130 countries. I've been to every country in Europe except North Macedonia, which I believe is a country. He spoke about graffiti. I hate graffiti. But every country in Europe that I've been to, which is every country, all I saw was graffiti. And it's a Western problem. There's no question about it. I just want to repeat, the country is a lot better than what he depicted.
Maybe so, but it doesn't change the fact that the problems he pointed out are absolutely problems and they need to be addressed. It's funny, like, I notice, like, conservatives, a lot of times, their response, especially, like, it's like Ben Shapiro. They don't actually have a response. They just have some slogan to shout at you. Just some slogan. Oh, well, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And, if you have anything to say about it, you're ungrateful. Or, if you have anything to say about it, it's not because that there could possibly be a problem with our whatever. It's you. There's no way that reality has a problem that could be fixed. The problem is in you. The problem is that you're ungrateful. problem is that you're spoiled. Like, bro, you know, how do these guys, like, I get, you know, I would consider myself conservative. And I think these arguments, you know, like, they're not bad arguments. You know, these are good, they're American principles, but at the same time, though, that they're not using these to help people. They're using these as a pretense not to help people. Not to help people. That's the problem. You know, they're pretending like this is them giving people advice and lending them a hand. No, this is you justifying not giving them advice, not lending them a hand. This is you justifying being an inhuman douchebag, an inhuman being.
You know, it's interesting as I read through the 10 points, words like fair, sovereign, productive, beautiful,
Disagree,
healthy,
tablet, with what?
honest, optimistic, wise, decent, united. I mean, these all sound like words that any of us would like, we would all relate to. But it reminds me a little bit of those days where I was in class teaching ethnic studies or, you know, Marxist ideas where you would say,
No, I just, you know, this stuff comes up and none of these people even try to, they don't even try to entertain it. They don't even try to have a dialogue. They just give you the slogan, they do the sloganeering, and then they move on to something else. Like, I don't get it. It's like, dude, how hard is it for you to talk about, like they refuse to even agree that there is a problem. You know, and they want to blame the DSA, say people are communists, this and that. It's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. You haven't given them any alternatives. You know, you just keep telling them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. No matter what they say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
say these words that young people would totally relate to, but they were not pragmatic and they didn't factor in human nature and what actually could happen. They were not actual solutions. They were mostly either complaints or words that would resonate. It does remind me a little bit of the DSA platform. And I would add, Dennis, you know, I think that there is a lot of fair criticism against conservatives and Republicans that don't know how to speak to young people. We don't know how to make sure that young people identify with conservative ideas. The left has been very good with getting young people to identify with them. I mean, you see this now even with the DSA. And one of the things that young people really identify.
Oh, what you mean? Like hearing them out? Like that? That's how, you know, the DSA, they've been so good at reaching young people. Not really. They just listen to them. You won't even do that. You won't even do that. You dismiss everybody. Like, what the hell? Where do you get it? Like, you are doing this country such a disservice with this. It's like we live in a one-party political system because of this. Because one of our parties just pretends that that our problems don't exist, that we don't exist, that everything is just gravy. It's like we have one party and they hate white men's guts, straight white men's guts. So it's like, bro, I don't have a party. I don't have a party that even cares that I exist. There is no party. Nothing. Like, this is such a disservice. This country's gonna end up either collapsing or becoming a communist hellscape because of these guys. Hey, what's up, GQ?
Identify with is hardship, right? They identify with how hard it is to make ends meet, to deal with an economy that is frankly scary and really challenging. They can't save. Many of them feel very insecure about the future, especially because of AI. Many young people are worried that they're not going to have jobs. So there is a reason for young people to be very scared and feel very insecure. The DSA, the socialists, they know how to take that.
I wonder if this Thomas Sowell dropped this a day ago, maybe? Let's check this out.
The reason I have such a focus on education is one, that it is one of the major institutions of our society that is failing more so, I think, than most of the other major institutions of our society. And it's failing in two different ways. It's failing to teach students how to think. It's failing to give them a background of knowledge of history. It's failing to allow them to express views that are different from what is being propagandized. These have become propaganda agencies more so than educational institutions. And I think more than that, the way these education is set up as an institution, there's nothing in it to cause them to change, to correct themselves. If you're in private business, if you're making widgets, if you're not making widgets that the public wants or will put up with, then you will discover that because you can't sell them, you will be losing money, and you will be forced out of business. Milton Friedman used to say that people call this a capitalist society as a profits society. He says it's a profit and loss society. And the losses are just as important as the profits, because the losses force people to stop doing things that are not working. Yeah. And only those who are doing things that can be self-supporting can continue. That's not true with education. Public school education, you have the almost inexhaustible amount of money from the taxpayers. Private schools are becoming private more in name than in reality. They're getting billions of dollars of taxpayers' money, and there's very little following of what happens. So that they can keep on doing things that are wrong for generation after generation.
And literally destroy generations of minds, generations of American youth. They've destroyed through greed, selfishness, social currency, validation. They've handicapped our culture, handicapped our society, basically condemned us to servitude. I mean, we've been passed by China. We're just, going to be like a client state of China. And it's these people who've done it to us. All of these people who sit on their high horses in academia and political offices and stuff, they condemn this country to misery and suffering, chaos, poverty, conflict, struggle. It's insane, man.
My book, Inside American Education, is one that I want to have people take a look at, not because it's a new book, but precisely because it's an old book. By reading it, you see that things that we have newly discovered that are wrong with the schools, sometimes as a result of the COVID pandemic, right? And the homeschooling that came out of that. Those things have been like that for 30 years or more. There's one of the particular items, for example, is someone discovered that in Minnesota, the schools were teaching boys about tampons. And some people seized upon that, say, what a strange thing that is. It is. But it's been doing that for more than 30 years. And you would never have known that except for the pandemic. Any idea that the public can keep up with what is going on in the schools in any.
You know, the thing about democracy is that it's totally 100% reliant on an educated, informed public. So when you totally let people down, give them a piss poor education, necessarily your country is going to decline. You've handicapped your own country. The quality of the decisions that the elections produce are lower. Yeah, I mean, like, you can't have a democracy and let these things happen. Like, we knew this before, like, we've known this for a long centuries. You know, like, it's very much so reliant on people being informed. And we've been deliberately misinformed and malinformed and prevented from being informed. It's no wonder our country's going to hell and it's going to the dogs. No wonder. You know, they've just, it's like they've been like insurance fraud or something where you know, they're not paying out their full amount, you know, like when you go to the hospital, your insurance it pays out for the medication as you get it from a nurse. And behind our back, you know, they're you know, they're buying placebo pills instead of the real stuff, you know, and we're just getting placebo pills for the same price. It's crazy, you know, and it's like they've told us, promised us that we're going to get $100 product, and then they proceed to swap it just before they give it to us for a $10 product, and then pocket the other $90. I mean, that's essentially what they've been doing, or somebody pockets it. You know, like more of that money goes towards the teachers' unions and to anything but the children, anything but the children of the taxpayers. And they've destroyed, I mean, they've really put our country in a bad place. They've really, us as a people, we have been put in a really tough position. And it remains to be seen if we even have fighting chance of getting through it.
Serious way. It's false. You have to have something, some mechanism by which the schools can be changed or the people can be allowed out of those schools without their having to be able to keep up with what's actually going on.
Universities. We've got the Trump administration taking all kinds of actions with regard to universities. They've used federal funding to bring pressure on universities to end DEI. They've used civil rights investigations to crack down on anti-Semitism. They've instigated immigration and customs investigations of foreign students who've been accused of contributing to campus unrest. They've used Title IX to keep biological men out of women's sports, and so it has gone. Your old alma mater, Harvard University. Yes, yes, yes. Don't feel guilty. You didn't know any better at the time, Tom.
I did know better at the time.
Oh, you did?
I didn't go to my graduation.
Yeah.
I gave them my forwarding address and left.
Send the diploma to me when you get to it.
Yes, and I've only kept in touch with one person, a roommate of mine in Harvard. I've never gone to any of the annual class reunions, or even when I was living a 30-minute drive from Harvard.
All right.
I always love what Sowell said about Harvard. He's like, you know, the biggest benefit from, you know, getting a degree from Harvard or going to Harvard is that I can go forward for the rest of my life without having to be impressed by somebody who went to Harvard, basically. You know, like I don't have to pretend to be impressed anymore by this garbage, this stupid degree that doesn't mean anything.
So let me quote the president of Harvard, current president of Harvard, Alan Garber, who was at Stanford for many years. This is an interview he gave last spring. The administration's measures don't even hit the same people that they believe are causing the problems. Why cut off research funding? Sure, it hurts Harvard, but it hurts the country. I don't know what Trump's motivations are, but I do know that there are people who are fighting a cultural battle. They don't like what's happened to campuses, close quote. All right, so let me ask the Harvard man, does the president of Harvard have a point? The Trump administration is using crude instruments.
Whatever instruments that they're using, they should use more of them.
Really?
Yes. Again, getting back to what Milton Friedman says, you know, that the losses are as important as the profits. That the big problem with universities is that you very seldom, almost never, find a university going out of business. No matter how bad they are, the money keeps coming in. And as far as research, there's no reason in this world why research can't take place in places other than universities. In fact, I strongly suspect that most research, whether to find cures for cancer or anything else, is going on to a great extent outside of universities already. And so there's nothing indispensable about what universities are doing. And I think if one or two Ivy League universities went bankrupt, I think it would be a very good thing to.
It would probably cause the others to straighten up.
For the other universities that survive to understand that they don't get the taxpayers' money just because they're used to getting it.
Yep.
Something has to be done to show it. I do think that there is a very serious chance that we are doomed because we have institutions who, for people in pursuing their interests, are destroying the larger interests of the whole society. These people who are coming around shooting people and calling them fascists and so on, these people are so ignorant that they don't even know what the fascists are doing. Charles Kirk went around talking to people, trying to convince them. Fascists don't do that. Fascists shoot people.
What is your definition of socialism?
Well, in the theoretical, the abstract, or the practical?
Take your pick.
So socialism, as written by Marx, is when the workers own the means of production.
Exactly.
In the actual practical, it's when a small group of very powerful, pernicious people are able to control the rest of the population under the guise of helping the many, when in reality it helps the few, and you get dictatorship, murder, and slaughter, and the revolution never actually comes.
Okay.
And so it's the person who kills him, thinking that he's a fascist, who is himself a fascist, and the opposite of the man he's murdering. I don't think it's coincidence. Supposedly, this was a scholarship student, but you have an intolerant universities are the norms. Yeah. People who go around trying to give talks on universities, and there are many others, and they're kept from doing so by mobs. Professors who have spent a lifetime studying some subject in great depth, like Stephen Thernstrom at Harvard, who was editor of the American Ethnic Group Encyclopedia. He had to stop teaching because people were making it impossible for him. And if you look at the history of what these people have been doing, and some of that history is in my book from 30 years ago, Inside American Education. It's horrifying. One of the reasons I've recommended this, the old book of mine, is that it makes...
Which one, Inside Higher Education? Which book?
Inside American Education.
American Education, yes.
Because it shows how hard it is for people to even know what is going on inside educational institutions. And that goes not only for the public schools, but also for the universities. It's wonderful to hear all these people talk about diversity is so wonderful in the schools. Yes, but diversity to them means white leftists, black leftists, female leftists, and Hispanic leftists. You know, and that's a somewhat limited notion of diversity. When people say, you know, that there needs to be more diversity, and I ask them, how many Republicans are there in your sociology department?
So much for diversity.
I don't think I've ever heard an answer as large as 10.
Man, it actually felt pretty good to hear him put it like that, you know, so calmly. Like, you know, there's a very good chance that we're doomed. You know, and it's not going to affect him. I do appreciate, you know, he's like one of the only people that I feel like I've heard in the last year that made any sense and seemed reasonable. Even, you know, Republicans, they don't even seem reasonable anymore. It's travesty. Anywho, like and subscribe if you haven't already, fellas. And you know, if you're feeling froggy or if you enjoyed the show and you've subscribed already, you know, consider becoming a member. It's like $2 for the core one. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Wasn't one of my best nights. Just trying to get this infrastructure and stuff for the streaming together. But until tomorrow evening, fellas, y'all stay safe.